Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from Am I the Jerk? Our first post is by OK Assumption. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my sister-in-law my Paris vacation? I, 32F, met my husband, Connor, 33M, in Paris 11 years ago. We kept in touch and eventually found ourselves both living in a big city in America and began dating. Since we met in Paris, we go once a year, usually in September. It isn't really an exclusively romantic thing, so we have gone with friends or family on a few of these trips. It's just something we like to do together, but we don't mind sharing it too. My sister-in-law, Charlie, 30F, and her fiancé, Mike, 31F, asked if they could come this year. Sister-in-law and Mike do not have a ton of extra funds, maybe one trip every couple years. Connor and I are able to take between 4-5 a year thanks to flexible work schedules and funds. About 2 months ago, Charlie and Mike decided they want to get married next month in a small ceremony instead of planning a big wedding. I have been putting an itinerary together for the trip. Lots of first-time in Paris stuff that we haven't done in a long time or ever, so no problem for us. I use a Google Sheet and just share it with the people who are traveling with us. Many of our trips are group trips. I shared with them when we first booked and have been making casual updates until 2 weeks ago when Mike reached out. He called me to tell me that he has decided that this trip will be their honeymoon. I thought it was a little weird but understood that they can't really afford multiple trips. Here is where things began to unravel. Sister-in-law doesn't want to go on her honeymoon with other people, so she called us and asked us to reschedule our trips so we are not there at the same time. We said no to that, but said we can do our own thing. I copied the Google Sheet I had made and began working on the new one. Additionally, I separated the flight itineraries so they could control their own, canceled the extra room I had reserved on my credit card, etc. Over the last few weeks, I have continued with our plans. I have made reservations and such for just my husband and me. A couple of days ago, I got a call from my sister-in-law asking if I had made any other plans because the spreadsheet hadn't been updated. I said that I had been making plans but just for Connor and me since we were taking separate trips. Apparently, they didn't realize that we were going to keep the arrangements we made for ourselves and expected them to make their own. They thought we would replan everything and continue planning their trip. Sister-in-law is pissed that she lost out on the hotel rate I had, wants my room now, and the tickets for attractions I got for the times that we had planned. She is demanding we give her these things because we were being spiteful when we didn't explicitly tell them we would no longer be planning their trip. I thought them telling us they wanted to be alone on their honeymoon and us agreeing to this made it clear. Mother-in-law said I should just give it to her since we go every year. I contend that I never offered to be their personal travel agent. Update. My sister-in-law and fiancé had been dodging our phone calls after they said they wanted us to move our trip dates. They were annoyed that we wouldn't, so I sent her the following text after multiple attempts to contact them. I told sister-in-law, I am going to go ahead and make any and all changes so we can avoid each other on the trip if that is what you want. Sister-in-law replied, that's fine. I then said, okay, I will just make the changes and update the spreadsheet for you. Sister-in-law responded, okay. Update 2. The above exchange was a follow-up to the phone call in which we explained that we would separate the flights and try to transfer the hotel reservation to them. This was the same call in which they told us they wanted us to change our trip. Our next post is by Refuse OK. Am I the jerk for telling a friend I'm not a backup plan? So I 20M have a friend 19F. We're not like best friends but we're good friends, but I'm not like a part of her friend circle if that makes sense. I hadn't seen her in a while due to working a lot recently as I want to save up as I'm going to uni this year. I messaged her and asked her if she was doing anything tomorrow. She replied and was just like dunno why, and I asked if she wanted to hang out. She then starts saying, oh maybe just because I need to wait to see if my friends want to do anything. I was like, oh yeah, if you might be doing something, let me know and we can do another day. She replied there, nothing planned. I just want to wait to see if they ask me if I want to do anything. I was like, oh right. Heard nothing until like 30 minutes before I proposed we originally hang out, and she messaged me saying, yeah, they didn't ask so we can hang out. I was a bit drunk at this point and kinda annoyed and just replied, don't worry, I don't want to be your backup friend. Way too blunt, I know, but that's how I felt, and obviously being drunk meant I felt it 10 times more. She was just like, what do you mean? And I said, I'm not gonna be left till the last minute on plans, because you want to wait for a hypothetical invitation from other friends. She got pissy and told me I was overreacting and being out of order. Now don't get me wrong, I think I'm the jerk for being so blunt, but am I the jerk in my reasoning? Figured I'd come here because I do feel kinda bad though, and wanted an outside opinion. Our next post is by Loving Mom. Am I the jerk for wanting my son to move back closer to his family? I'm 56F, and I live with my husband, 64M. We only have one son, 33M, who currently lives abroad and we see once a year, as it's very far away and expensive to go. We live in a small town. He moved away when he was 18 for college and never came back. We expected him to move back after he graduated, but he decided to stay where he was, since he already had a job and a girlfriend there. They got married. Our town is close to our state's capital, where his work field is very strong. Ever since his senior year in college, I've been trying to convince him to move closer for a better career and to stay close to his family. He never showed interest, which I find it odd, especially since his wife also works on the same field. 4 years ago, they moved abroad. I felt betrayed when he told me he was already living 3 hours away from us. Why would he choose to go even further to another country, but not the city right next to us? I never told him anything, besides let them know me and his father are always here if they needed us. Until recently, things were fine. I miss him a lot, we text every day, but we don't get to speak to each other often. The problem is my father, 84M, whose health took a dive and is very fragile. And with my son living so far, he is missing a precious time he could be spending right here. His granddad is not likely to live many years now. I told the news to my son and he was sad about it, and he came to see us and left a week ago. I was honest with him. I said his grandfather will not stay with us for so long, and since he lives so far away, he will lose the opportunity to stay close and enjoy the time he has left. He was not happy about me touching this matter. He said I was trying to guilt him into moving back. I asked him why he was doing this to me. Why doesn't he miss me and his dad? We are getting old, and he is only seeing us once or twice a year. It's cruel to us. He said he missed us, but he is happy where he is and does not plan on moving back, and he and his wife are already making plans on buying a house where they live. I couldn't take it, and I burst out crying. I told him I felt abandoned, that he didn't seem to care for us, and he should enjoy his family while he can because we will not be here forever. I asked what makes him think he cannot be happy living here. He didn't respond. The few days after this were very awkward, and after he left, he seems to be even more distant, avoiding me, and being very short on his texts. Yesterday, his wife called and said my son was feeling bad and told her what happened. She called me a jerk and said I had no right trying to manipulate him like that, and I should be ashamed. I don't think I'm the jerk for wanting my son closer to me. They are the jerk for abandoning family behind. And I'm including her as well, since she did the same. I talk to her mother often, and she is on my side. 5 months later, an update was posted. Since my last post, I have improved my relationship with my son and his wife, switched therapists, started treatment for my anxiety and depression, and lost my father. Things started to turn around when I decided to change therapists and went on a few sessions with the new one. Their approach allowed me to come to terms with the fact that my son's values, perspective on the world, and life objectives will never align with mine, and that's okay. It was a tough realization, but an important one. During therapy, I also discovered that my anxiety was way more off than I thought, and I never treated it. I started taking medication. After a few months, I was feeling a lot better about my son living away from me. Moreover, my therapist helped me understand a crucial aspect of my life. I had been living under the weight of guilt, giving up on so many plans for the sake of my own parents. A silly example, when my husband and I got married, I wanted to get a cat, but my father always hated cats. I thought to myself, My father despises felines. It wouldn't be fair to him to have a cat in our home. What if they come to visit? I wouldn't be a good daughter. When I recounted this story to my therapist, they were shocked on how normal I thought that was. This was just one of many instances where guilt dictated my decisions. Both of my parents were masters at instilling guilt, and I had internalized it over the years. Main point of the original post: I wanted my son to continue living close to me. He didn't. In my misguided attempts to enforce my desires, I resorted to guilt-tripping him repeatedly. It's how I've been taught. It's what I knew. I now see how wrong and unhealthy that behavior is. While I may never fully understand or relate to the idea of living far away from family, still hurts, I've come to accept that this is my issue to grapple with, not my son's burden. I am determined to confront this challenge alone and refuse to allow it to dictate my happiness. After my father passed, it happened suddenly. My son wanted to come to his funeral, but it would be so exhausting for him, not to mention expensive. So I told him there was no need to come. He could stay, and we would get together and remember Grandpa another time. I was surprised with myself. In other times, I would have guilted him into coming as fast as he could. In conclusion, I want to thank those who were respectful for the wake-up call and the discussions that unfolded from my initial post. It has been an enlightening journey of self-discovery and growth. I'm committed to continuing my progress and learning how to prioritize my own well-being while respecting the autonomy and choices of those around me. Edit. Thank you everyone for this awesome reception of my post. I wasn't expecting this much love. I want to take some time and reply to each comment, but I'll address one point that everyone seems to be commenting. Yes, my husband and I will adopt a cat. We need to secure our house first. We plan on keeping it indoors for its safety, so we will catify the environment the best we can. I've been watching a lot of Jackson Galaxy videos. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.